Before we begin, viewer discretion is advised. This video discusses the disappearance and death of a child. There is no graphic content, but the subject matter is deeply disturbing. All information presented here is drawn from public records, investigative reporting, and official statements. Our purpose is not shock value. It is to document a tragic case, examine how critical warning signs were overlooked, and preserve the story of a child whose voice was never fully heard. This is the story of Lorie Paige, a quiet, intelligent 12-year-old who vanished in the summer of 2023. At first, authorities believed she had simply run away. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, that explanation began to fall apart. Behind closed doors, inconsistencies surfaced. Stories didn't align. Digital footprints led somewhere no one expected. For nearly 2 years, Lorie's name echoed through her school, her neighborhood, and an entire community searching for answers. What investigators eventually uncovered was not just a disappearance. It was a truth far darker. One that would change everything. If you want to uncover more cases like this and follow the darkest truths behind human behavior, make sure to subscribe to Minds of Murderers and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. Now let's begin. Lorie Paige was born on April 14, 2011. To those who knew her, she was an unusually bright and self-sufficient child. By the age of 4, she could already read on her own, rarely needing help and never causing trouble. Family members described her as quiet, polite, and observant, the kind of child who stayed in the background but noticed everything. Lorie was extremely shy. In crowded spaces, she often withdrew, speaking softly or not at all. But around friends, she slowly opened up. She loved talking about Roblox, trending YouTube videos, and the small things that made her feel connected to the world. Those moments revealed a gentle personality and a child eager to belong. Despite her intelligence and calm demeanor, Lorie carried an emotional weight that few recognized at the time. She learned early how to be independent, not because she wanted to be, but because she had to be. As she grew older, that quiet strength began to mask deeper struggles. And long before she disappeared, the foundation of her life was already beginning to crack. Lorie's parents, Andrew Way and Miranda White, were never a couple. According to family members, their relationship was strained from the very beginning. Lorie's grandmother later claimed that Miranda had wanted to terminate the pregnancy, but was unable to do so because she was too far along. From the moment Lorie was born, the household was marked by distance and conflict. Shortly after Lorie's birth, Miranda relocated, leaving much of the responsibility for caregiving to relatives. Multiple family members would later say that Miranda struggled to bond with her daughter and spent long periods away from home. They claimed she often slept through the day and left food out for Lorie to eat on her own. Andrew's relationship with Miranda quickly deteriorated. He said communication between them ended entirely when Miranda moved states without telling him, cutting him off from his daughter's life for years. As a result, Lorie grew up surrounded by instability. Different homes, different caregivers, different routines. What she never had was consistency. And as the adults around her drifted further apart, Lorie was left in the middle, quietly adapting to a life shaped by absence. Much of Lorie's childhood was spent in Nashville, Tennessee. By then, her life had become a cycle of constant change. Miranda frequently relocated in search of work, causing Lorie to switch schools multiple times. Each move forced her to start over, making it difficult to form lasting friendships or feel rooted anywhere. At one point, Child Protective Services intervened. Lorie was temporarily removed from Miranda's care and placed with her great-grandfather. The arrangement didn't last long. Eventually, she was returned to her mother's custody, who was now in a relationship with a woman named Latana White. While living in Nashville, records indicate that Lorie ran away from home at least once. According to reports, the incident followed a heated argument with her mother. She left, but returned quickly, and no formal action was taken. Neighbors later claimed that shouting matches between Lorie and Miranda were not uncommon, describing a volatile home environment they tried to avoid getting involved in. Behind the scenes, Lorie was being cared for by extended family members, including her godmother. Miranda was often absent, and although Lorie rarely spoke openly about her home life, the instability was becoming impossible to ignore. The warning signs were there. They just weren't fully understood yet. In 2022, Lorie's life took another turn. Her father, Andrew Way, who had re-established contact with her, gained full custody. Lorie moved to Tallahassee, Florida, leaving behind her friends and support network in Nashville. Andrew enrolled her in Griffin Middle School for the 2022 to 2023 school year, promising she would adjust and make new friends. But Lorie struggled to fit in. She remained shy and withdrawn, avoiding extracurricular activities and isolating herself after school. Classmates later said it was almost impossible to reach her outside of school hours. Social media and phones were restricted, though Andrew had briefly given her a phone, which he later confiscated, claiming her grades had dropped and she had accessed inappropriate content online. Lorie spent most of her time alone, either watching television or playing Roblox on the family laptop. While she maintained occasional email contact with her mother, her father controlled most communication. Conflicts over Lorie's upbringing, her safety, and her online activity created tension between her parents, adding to the young girl's growing sense of isolation. For Lorie, moving in with her father was not just a change of location. It marked the beginning of a life defined by strict rules, emotional distance, and growing struggles that few could see. As the school year progressed, Lorie's teachers and counselors began noticing alarming behaviors. She seemed withdrawn, unable to regulate her emotions, and often cried unexpectedly during class. On one occasion, she threw objects across the room in a sudden outburst, prompting a school counselor from the board to intervene. During interviews and personality assessments, experts suggested that Lorie was likely suffering from depression and feelings of inadequacy. Classmates said she confided that life at home had become volatile. There were reports of physical discipline from her father and tense confrontations at the school bus stop. While some family members defended Andrew, claiming he loved his daughter and tried to provide structure, the repeated patterns of emotional distress in Lorie were clear to those observing her. Friends and teachers feared for her safety. They didn't fully know the extent of her struggles, but they could see something was wrong. Lorie was sending out silent cries for help, but no one yet realized how close she was to a breaking point. The warning signs were mounting, and the stage was set for the events that would soon change everything. On June 3, 2023, Lorie Paige was reported missing by her father, Andrew Way. According to him, he had left for work late the previous night. When he returned the next day, Lorie was gone. He told police she had been watching television when he left and had disappeared while he was away. Officers were dispatched immediately. They canvassed the neighborhood, spoke to her school, and interviewed friends and family. Lorie had run away before, and initially, authorities considered it another temporary disappearance. But as hours passed and no trace of her was found, concern turned to fear. Teachers and staff at Griffin Middle School tried to reach her, hoping she would return to the safety of school grounds. Community members, local pastors, and neighbors joined the search. Bulletins were posted, calls were made, and phone alerts sent. Everyone knew that in missing child cases, every minute counts. Yet even with the search underway, the truth of what had happened remained hidden. As investigators dug deeper, inconsistencies began to appear in Andrew's account, raising questions about what really happened to Lorie Paige that night. As the investigation continued, police began uncovering inconsistencies in Andrew W.'s story. His timeline didn't always match digital evidence. Phone records showed unusual travel, including trips to Jacksonville, Florida, around the time Lorie disappeared. He claimed he was dropping off a friend, someone who, as it turned out, didn't exist. Investigators seized devices from home, including laptops and old phones. Bioluminescent tests revealed traces of blood in his car, around the passenger seat and window. Online searches on his devices suggested he'd been looking into remote areas and questions about missing children. A one-way ticket to Puerto Rico was purchased and then canceled, adding to the growing suspicion. Every detail seemed to contradict Andrew's story. Witness accounts, digital footprints, and travel records painted a picture that did not align with the narrative of a concerned father searching for his missing daughter. What had first appeared to be a runaway case was now developing into something far more sinister, and investigators began focusing on Andrew as a person of interest. Suspicion was mounting. The quiet disappearance of a 12-year-old was revealing a chilling web of deception and lies, each piece bringing authorities closer to the truth. In early 2025, nearly 2 years after Lorie disappeared, investigators finally closed in on the truth. Using cell phone geolocation data and digital evidence from Andrew W. Y's devices, police identified a remote, brush-covered area in Thomas County, Georgia. Multiple searches had been conducted there before, but the thick terrain had hidden what lay beneath. On April 5, 2025, after a controlled burn cleared heavy underbrush, human remains were discovered. Bones were collected and submitted for DNA testing. Just days later, the results confirmed the worst. The remains belonged to Lorie Paige. Authorities moved quickly. With this evidence, Andrew Way was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Investigators concluded that her death had been intentional but not premeditated. They believed a moment of rage led to the tragic attack. The revelation shocked the community, bringing a somber end to nearly 2 years of uncertainty. A case that had begun as a missing child report had transformed into a harrowing story of betrayal, secrecy, and violence. Finally, the truth was known. But even with Lorie's remains recovered and her killer in custody, the family and community faced a grief that would never fully fade. Andrew Way never stood trial. On June 20, 2025, 2 years after Lorie's disappearance, he died in custody from a pulmonary embolism. His death brought the criminal case to an abrupt end, leaving the courts unable to officially declare guilt. Prosecutors, however, stated they were confident in the evidence linking him to Lorie's death, citing digital forensics, location tracking, and suspicious behavior. The community mourned. Candlelight vigils and bubble-blowing ceremonies were held in Lorie's memory, reminding everyone of the young girl whose life had been cut tragically short. Friends, teachers, and neighbors gathered, honoring her with silence, reflection, and remembrance. While the arrest had brought a measure of relief, the lack of a trial denied the family full closure. Questions remained, and the justice system could not fully pronounce accountability. Yet the story of Lorie Paige endures, a somber reminder of warning signs ignored, a young life lost, and the community's commitment to never forget her. Her story lives on, not in headlines alone, but in the hearts of those who searched, hoped, and continue to remember. Lorie Paige's voice may have been silenced, but her memory will never fade.